Hey everyone, Arkham here, and something's missing. Oh, there we go. Anyway, yes, you read the title right. I am once again doing something very different for what I normally do on this channel. For the first video of 2026, I'm hitting y'all with a FNAF theory. Yay! But anyway, as we know, besides both a full new game installment in the franchise, as well as the second movie coming out, one of the biggest FNAF-related medias to come out in 2025 was the Five Nights at Freddy's Dead by Daylight chapter. I've already made a video on the channel going over almost every single detail within the chapter, from going over Springtrap's gameplay, to all the Easter eggs and references that the chapter ties back to the franchise. But as the months have passed by, and I've gotten to more closely examine these details, I realized that I, and probably a lot of the FNAF community, have grossly underestimated just how many lore implications and story details are packed within this chapter. It makes my original video covering this crossover seem as if I was just barely scratching the surface of details to explore and discover. And upon one of these investigative deep dives into the chapter, I've come across a detail so subtle, so minute, that I have not seen anyone else make this connection. A seemingly random detail within this chapter that very well might have solved a decade-long mystery within this franchise. A mystery from the words of Scott Cawthon himself. And I'm here today to present my evidence as to what I believe is the true answer to said mystery. And all of this stems from one single add-on. Now, before I go into what this means for the actual FNAF lore and the implications and all of that, I need to go over what the significance of the add-ons mean for Dead by Daylight's lore. So, for those of you who don't know, the lore of Dead by Daylight is centered around one being, a creature known as the Entity. The Entity is this eldritch cosmic horror being that captures people and monsters from all across the Omniverse to put them in its own pocket dimension outside of space and time, known as the Entity's Realm. Inside the realm, every map, item, and even the character's clothes sometimes are made up of what is known as Auric particles. Auric particles are pretty much the building blocks of the Entity's realm that are composed of the memories of the killers and survivors themselves. Any map that you play in the game is a recreation of what that location was from the memories of the survivors or killers, or sometimes even entire universes that it originates from. So, for example, the RPD map from Resident Evil was recreated within the Entity's realm from the memories of the characters from Resident Evil that you can play as, like Leon or Jill and Claire and Wesker and Chris and so on. Fun fact, the devs have stated directly that the FNAF map is based off both of the original game and the movie Pizzeria. So, using the information that all of the maps are created from the memories of the survivors and killers, then that implies that this map was created from both a mash of game and movie William Afton, seeing as they both appear in the game as separate characters and skins. Anyway, this detail doesn't just apply to the maps you play on. Every single killer in the game has a series of add-ons that the player can use to enhance or sometimes even change their power. These items are recreations of items that hold significance to the killer, either being things that make them remember their past or that just bring up significant emotion, since the Entity feeds off emotion of every kind. Some of these add-ons are directly stated to be gifts from the Entity itself in the form of the iridescent add-ons. The most powerful, not you, hag, or clown. Or usually this is either to reward the killer or to trigger some kind of emotional response from them. Most often in a mocking way, or one that reminds them of who's really in charge of them all. You know, the giant spider god demon in the sky. So with that quick little lore dump out of the way, hopefully you understand the significance of the add-ons in terms of a narrative sense. Essentially, they're items that the Entity gives to the killer, made from particles of their own memories, and are used to trigger an emotional response to enhance their power. Got it? Good, because this is where the theory crafting actually begins. Springtrap himself has a bunch of different interesting add-ons, all consisting of items from different games and sources across the franchise. A lot of these have given us some very obvious lore implications, such as Iridescent Remnant and Freddy's Hat, which I've gone over in my previous video going over all the interesting details about them, such as going over their flavor texts and what references. Anyway, if you're interested in that, go give that video a watch after this one. Anyway, Out of all of the add-ons that Springtrap has, I wanted to focus on one in particular, Purple Guy Drawing. On the surface, this add-on isn't anything to really give two glances at. Obviously, it references the killer who it belongs to, William Afton, one of his nicknames being, well, the Purple Guy, due to his appearances in some of the FNAF minigames being purple. Its flavor text being a reference to FNAF World's Purple Guy's sprites loading screen. He only takes 10 seconds to draw. But looking back at this add-on with the context of what I explained earlier about the add-ons being significant narratively, the question then arises, who the hell made this drawing? And this isn't a question to throw away as being unimportant. When talking about the creation of the FNAF chapter, the devs themselves have stated that they were working closely with Scott Cawthon to make this chapter. So, that means that Scott would have to approve of everything that was added into the game, including this drawing of the Purple Guy. But, Arkham, you're probably asking, why is a drawing of Purple Guy important? Any random kid could have drawn that in, like it says in the flavor text, 10 seconds. And to that I say, no, not any kid. Remember, the add-ons given to the killers must hold some sort of significance to them to trigger an emotional response of some kind, so that the entity can feed off of them. And it has to be something that William remembers, because these items have to be made of his own memories. So with that logic, there are only a few candidates to pick from for who could have actually created this drawing. Those being Henry, Michael Afton, Charlie, the MCI, or Crying Child. To just cross the easy ones off, Henry and Michael I think are safe to just immediately cross off, because every time we've seen them actually draw anything, these drawings are given immense detail compared to how this drawing of Purple Guy looks. Just look at how Michael draws simple doodles in the survival logbook, or the blueprints that Henry Emily creates for his animatronics. Detailed drawings, nothing that these adults would draw. Very detailed drawings, nothing that would look remotely like what this Purple Guy drawing looks like. So that only leaves Charlie, the MCI themselves, or Crying Child, David, Cece, Gregory, Aftonson, whatever the fuck you want to call him. And it might seem hard at first to figure out which one of these children made this drawing, but let's just take a second to examine the implications of this drawing. First off, it depicts William Afton as the Purple Guy. Duh, I hear you saying, but think about it. As far as I know, any depictions of characters drawing William Afton in any instance, especially from children, have been him in his Spring Bonnie or Yellow Rabbit persona. See the FNAF movie where we see this exact thing. So I think it's safe to assume that we can cross off the MCI from our candidates as well, as there's nothing to say that the MCI saw William out of costume before they died, only as Spring Bonnie. And that's the thing. Whoever created this drawing must have been alive long enough to actually make the thing. So, whoever made this drawing had to A, see William Afton himself, or at least his Purple Guy version doing something to depict him holding a knife, and B, live long enough to actually sit down and make this drawing. And from our two candidates remaining, only one of these fits this criteria. That's right, the Crying Child. And true, Charlie did see William Afton outside of his costume committing a horrible act, but she was immediately killed outside of a Fazbear's location before she would have been able to say or draw anything about it. So, from all those options, we're left with Crying Child as our only possible candidate. But where in this franchise could Crying Child possibly see William out of costume committing, in what is in his eyes, an act of killing? Oh wait, that's right. In the FNAF 4 minigames, after beating Night 3, the player can encounter a secret scene where we, playing as Cece, see the Purple Guy putting on a costume head on another person, 2 days before his party, before he officially dies. And remember, this is the same game where Scott has explicitly said that he did not have any random Easter eggs put in, so this scene of William is meant to be important in some way or another. Now, how does this imply or even confirm anything, you're probably asking? What mystery does this possibly solve? Well, if you know anything about FNAF 4, then you might remember the 3 messages that Scott Cawthon left on a Game Theory livestream nearly a decade ago. One of those messages being, what is seen in shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. And that is when it all clicks together. This message being a part of the same group of messages trying to help solve the story of FNAF 4 implies that whatever CC misunderstood must have come from this same era of 4 games. And with the evidence and logic presented, I believe that what CC saw and misunderstood is watching his own father, or a purple guy, in the shadow of a dark room wearing a gold badge on his shirt, killing and stuffing a person inside of a suit. Just like the rumors that have spread around the town and that even the local children have told Crying Child about. All of this spawning from the connection created by this single add-on. To me, it makes perfect sense. Why and how does Springtrap in the realm have a picture of himself as the purple guy killer? And why is it any significant to him? It's because his own son drew it, just days before he passed away. Now, what the implications of CC seeing what he thinks was his own father killing someone in a suit means, I'm not entirely sure. It could further build up his fears of the animatronics and the other things that he's already seen around the Fredbear's establishment, as implied by the Psychic Friend Fredbear plush just the day before. But either way, I believe that it goes to show just how important the minor details can be given so much greater importance when given just a little bit more thought to what their implications could mean narratively than just at face value. And with that, I hope I was able to convince you of this random crackpot theory that sprung from a single add-on, and if not, then I just simply hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd love to talk more about FNAF and hopefully come up with more theories like this. If you enjoyed the video, then I suggest giving it a like as well as a comment so I can gain some traction. It would help out a lot for more people to see it. And if you're interested in possibly more videos like this, then please hit subscribe and ring the bell for future notifications. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay safe and have a good day.